We know you're uncertain about psychics. Is this fortune teller you found on a forum legit?
Your one true love is...
me!
That's why California Psychics reject 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. New customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. So experience the joy of certainty at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
And now it's time for No Pucks Given with Dan Kingerski of Pittsburgh Hockey Now. Penguin Scoop's locker room buzz and straight-up analysis. No fluff, all hockey. Now, here's Dan.
And here we go. It is another No Pucks Given. I think this is like episode 39 or 40, or heck, maybe it's like 75. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski here on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now platforms. Producer Scott Gilbranson, who has done worlds of work and lots of good stuff for us when I shout him out at the top of the program this week. So here is what we've got going. As I record this late Sunday evening, Penguins had an off day, didn't make any changes, didn't make any news, which surprised me. Okay, it surprised me just a wee little bit anyway. I was really wondering if we were going to see a Rutger McGroarty recall. Not yet. Perhaps Monday for practice. Maybe Kyle Dubas and the PR staff just took the entire day off. Lord knows they've all earned it. So here's what's on the NPG. Nah, I don't like the initials. I thought I'd try it out. I like No Pucks Given. So we're going to talk. I don't want to use the word collapse. That's clearly the wrong term. Okay. But there is definitely a sideways trend. The Penguins are dominating games and they are losing games. You're supposed to not dominate games that you win, or you're supposed to dominate, or you're supposed to win games you dominate. That's what Dan is trying to say. You're supposed to win those games at least, 70% of the time. Yet the Penguins have just 2 wins in their last 9 games as they dominate. And really only one of those games did they not dominate. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to get into the real reasons for this sideways trend. That's going to lead us into a very real discussion on just exactly what Kyle Dubas wants to do. Now, I called on him Saturday night, Sunday morning to explore some options. And I laid out some very easy things, but there are some hard decisions to make for the Penguins. And then kind of dovetailing right into that, we are going to talk about the Penguins' goaltending situation. Yep. There is one no fuss, no muss, easy exit ramp coming up, and they might just take it and be done with it. Although, I want you and I to talk about this. So that's where we're headed on this episode. Do me a favor, since this is available wherever you get your podcast, whether you go Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or wherever else I'm missing. It's been kind of funky on YouTube because we're posting these extra videos on YouTube, and I think the big show gets lost. I don't know if we should keep doing the extra videos. I don't know if they're making money or the podcast is making money, but obviously, I try not to do too much work for free. Okay, let's talk about the Penguins going sideways here. It's not exactly the most easy conversation because they should have won most of the last 9 games. They really could be 7-2. Let's say you have a bobble, you're 6-3, 6-2-1, whatever it might be. But instead, they're 2-3-4. Or 2-4-3, rather. Let me get that right. 2-4-3. They can't play in overtime. Can't win shootouts. So it's been a little bit brutal. That's for sure. First of all, before we get into the Penguins, Kyle Dubas activating Dubas, general manager powers. The Penguins lineup on each line probably has a player that shouldn't be there. That's a pretty big thing to overcome. With Ricard Raquel out, Ville Koivunen injured, the Penguins are sort of just mixing and matching and doing what they can. Right now, Connor Dewar has been on the top line. I want no part of criticism for Dewar. He's had a very good season. He is a scrappy, fine fourth-line winger who has brought a lot to the team this year. I don't need to criticize him. And it's not criticism to say that he's not working on the top line. That's an entirely separate role and division of labor, putting a player on the top line. And I don't think in any way, shape, or form that's working. What it's actually doing, because the Penguins are a bit top-heavy with their offense, is it is sort of regressing the entire team. When Sidney Crosby has that bad body language, and he had a bit this weekend. There was a bit of angry Sid that isn't the good angry Sid, but the bad angry Sid. After, pucks were, you can't say given away, but in effect, that's what happened when a player plays it like a hot potato and doesn't continue the rush or makes a bad dump in or plays it just far too quickly, gets it off his stick. That's in effect a giveaway. The Penguins' top line had far too many of those types of giveaways this weekend, and it really hampered their offense. I know they got a goal, but that was really a gift from Philip Grubauer on Saturday. That turnover, that was Dewar's just standing there in the on the wall to block it, and it comes right to him. He just snapped to Crosby before Grubauer gets back in the net. On the second line, Kevin Hayes, Malkin, and Mantha played extraordinarily well in the second game in Sweden. After Kevin Hayes had a real bust of a game, the first game in Sweden when he played with Ville Koivunen and Tommy Novak, that was, I think all three players would probably have agreed that was a kind of a garbage game for the line. They generated next to nothing, if not less than nothing. So putting him up on Malkin's line, it worked for a game. It didn't work for two more games. And I'm not going to pile on Kevin Hayes. He's a versatile, slick forward. Just hasn't found a lot of rhythm over the last several years. Since he was a second-line center in Philadelphia, St. Louis to Pittsburgh, we've seen some good hockey, but it's been a difficult thing to get that train on the tracks at full speed. And that second line, Evgeny Malkin was zipping around this week. Evgeny Malkin actually had his legs on Friday in that beatdown loss to Minnesota. Malkin was actually pretty good in that game. But too many times he was on an island. And he would go one way with the puck and be 1-on-3 with no help. The tight puck support of the Dan Hughes system was just not in effect on that line. I can't say it was much in effect on that line on Saturday either, although Mantha had a much better game Saturday. So on the third line, we are talking Ben Kindle playing with Tommy Novak, who is a bit inconsistent, and whoever's on the right wing. The last two games, let me tell you something. I see some fans bagging Sam Poulin, and I think that's a pre-programmed response to assume he didn't do anything because he didn't score a goal. Sam Poulin actually played strong hockey. I'm not going to say he played great. Otherwise, you would have noticed him a little more, but he was impactful. He was strong on the walls. He took the puck to the net and made some, good plays, got the puck off the wall. Yeah, played strong defense. I liked where he started. I think Dan Muse's quote actually might have been the same quote I used with Sam Poulin's first practice. I wonder if he got it from me. That'd be kind of weird. But what he said was Sam Poulin came to play. I would agree wholeheartedly with that. And I'm not going to criticize Sam Poulin. I think that third line, though, just is like the rest of the team, sort of disconnected. And I don't know how you fix that third line with the injuries right now. And the fourth line, I was a big Joona Koppanen, or all the Finnish reporters, Joona Koppanen.
This holiday season, celebrate in the middle of everything. From the glistening lights of Galena to the festive magic of Chicago's Magnificent Mile, Illinois has everything on your wish list. Bundle up and meet the reindeer before their big night. Raise a toast in a cozy snow globe. Or get a taste of the North Pole as you sip, shop, and stroll through the Christkindl Market. Start a new tradition and plan your holiday getaway at enjoyillinois.com.
Or Koppanen. Every day in Sweden anyway, a Finnish reporter had to ask about Joona Koppanen. You have a player who's played 330 AHL games. Why is Joona Koppanen great for you? It was every day. It was about Joona Koppanen. It was kind of amusing. We Pittsburgh media just stayed out of the way. Let them ask the questions and write the stories because it's a thing. The Finnish media wants Finnish player to do well. So anyway, Koppanen hasn't been playing very well with the Penguins. It's been a bit soft, and Danton Heinen sort of is, and not having Connor Dewar on that line takes away this sort of speed burst that has been so prevalent on that line with Blake Lizotte. I think it's not a coincidence when you remove Dewar from Lizotte, and then you take Achari off as well with the injury. But even just Lizotte and Dewar were sort of made to play together. It's like turbocharged 5'8" forwards who just go, and they create havoc for opponents, and that's missing. I would think Dan Muse, with the data reflect, goes back to some of those combinations and maybe bumps Heinen up into the top six instead of Connor Dewar or Kevin Hayes. I think that's coming. I also think it's imperative at this point they have to recall Rutger McGroarty. That the team is just, and that all goes to. Let me make a note here. 11:45. I transition to topic number 2 because this is all free form. Poor Scott is, trying to figure out. Scott's not a hockey guy. Scott is an Oakland Raiders or a Los Angeles Raiders Las Vegas Raiders podcast host and a sports writer, and he's producing his podcast. Hockey? What are you talking about? He lives in he's from Cincinnati. I digress, Scott. I love you. The thing we're going to talk about now is, what does Kyle Dubas do about all of this? Because it very much is within his control here to make some decisions. And those decisions will be to ride it out. Just, this is the team. We're not going to spend any assets. This was the team we built, and the ship is going to sail or sink based on what we did in the off seasons, what they did last year. For the most part, they acquired Philip Tomasino and Tommy Novak, but those were deals in which the Penguins received future assets as well. Those weren't deals to get better in the immediate. Well, I suppose the Novak deal, they wanted Novak over Bunting and Luke Schenn sort of in the immediate. But then again, they wound up with a second-round draft pick instead of Luke Schenn. To the point I'm making is that Kyle Dubas right now is going to be faced with the first big fork in the road. Does he attempt to fortify this team that has shown promise? Or does he not? If he attempts to fortify this team, now we start talking about what kind of acquisitions, what kind of trades can the Penguins make? Should he? And I think that's, I would venture, and I don't know this, please don't say I'm reporting this, I would venture that if you ask the Penguins front office from top to bottom, you might get a split decision on if they should fortify this team. It's got to be tempting. If you look at the Eastern Conference, it is a mush. It is absolutely winnable. When the best team is the Carolina Hurricanes or the New Jersey Devils, because Florida is tattered. Florida will not have anything left by March. They are not the Florida Panthers this year. So do you just say, hey, if we're going to have a middle of the first round pick, what the heck? Let's have a later first round pick. Statistically speaking, there isn't a whole lot of difference between, say, drafting, let's call it 15th and 22nd. Not a whole lot of difference whatsoever statistically. I think if I'm in Kyle Dubas's chair, I do nibble at this. I'm not talking blockbusters. I'm not talking trying to go out and get a Nazem Kadri or one of these expensive star players. But I am trying to fortify the middle six. Otherwise, you're going to burn Sidney Crosby up. You're just going to, you're going to kind of burn up Evgeny Malkin as well. There needs to be some scoring help in the middle of that lineup. And I think it's affordable. I think it's attainable. I think it's out there. It can't be another soft winger who you're taking a chance on. I know a lot of people wanted Brad Lambert out of Winnipeg, who is sort of, asking out of Winnipeg, their 2020 first round pick, who I think was 30th overall. That's not the kind of player I'm thinking of. I'm not even thinking of a player like Nick Robertson in Toronto, who's actually kind of turning it on a little bit. I'm thinking of a solid veteran middle six guy who's, I think Dubas is very good at those under the radar sort of players. And I'm not going to start chucking names out because then we start debating those names rather than the principle and the idea that I'm driving home here is that Dubas probably should act. If you wait until January, it's going to be too late. Penguins will be out of the playoffs, but they're still going to be in that 10 to 12, 13 sort of range. No bueno. If you're gonna be there, you might as well push. You might as well do everything you can. Now, topic 3, as we kind of roll into this at 16:49. You know what? Topic 3 dovetails perfectly into the trades, but I'm going to make you hang on one quick second here. On the No Pucks Given platform, on the Odyssey Podcast Network, we're going to take this break. On the video side, we keep going. On the podcast side, you have to wait for what I have to say next.
If you're an experienced pet owner, you already know that having a pet is 25% belly rubs, 25% yelling, drop it, and 50% groaning at the bill from every pet visit. Which is why Lemonade Pet Insurance is tailor-made for your pet and can save you up to 90% on vet bills. It can help cover checkups, emergencies, diagnostics, basically all the stuff that makes your bank account get nervous. Claims are filed super easily through the Lemonade app and half get settled instantly. Get a quote at lemonade.com/pet and they'll help cover the vet bill for whatever your pet swallowed after you yelled, drop it.